Hi, someone asked me a while ago how to develop speed for martial arts, kickboxing, boxing, that sort of thing. Now, even though I don't consider myself to be exceptionally fast or anything like that, I do have a few pieces of advice for people who would like to develop speed and power simultaneously when striking in the martial arts. One important thing that helps develop both speed and power in the martial arts is what you're doing with your hands. Even though the actual power of a strike comes from your hips, from your body, from what you're doing with your feet and so on, the hand plays a very important role. A lot of people have heard of the 1-inch punch, made famous by Bruce Lee. Basically all that is tightening up your fist at the moment of impact. You can do that from an inch away and still deliver an impact. I mean, I might not be able to do it hard enough to knock a guy over, but from an inch away, from just my hand, that's a decent amount of power. Now, when you add that to a full-blown strike, putting everything into it, your hip, your foot, etc., just that action of tightening up your hand adds a lot of speed and a fair amount of power. I say this loosely, but speed in martial arts is largely an illusion. What I mean by that is you don't see the strikes that knock you out. Let me repeat that. You do not see the strikes that knock you out. The reason for that is because you are being distracted by something else. Whether it's a setup with a jab or some kind of movement over here, or if you see me moving this leg over here and you think I might be attacking with that, it's all about fakes. For example, in boxing or kickboxing or MMA, I like to set up everything with a jab. Whether I'm setting up a cross, whether I'm setting up a kick or a combo, whether I'm setting up a takedown, it doesn't matter. The thing is, these other techniques, a cross for example, it's slow but powerful. A roundhouse kick, slow but powerful, relatively speaking, compared to something like a back fist or a jab, which is fast but less powerful. When I set up my strikes in succession in combinations, using the faster strike such as a jab to set up a slower strike like a cross, or even just a 1-2, 1-2 combination, it seems a lot faster than it really is, or at least the power strikes seem a lot faster than they really are, because they are being coupled with the faster strikes like the jab. There are a few things that can help you out considerably as far as speed goes in martial arts. One is to become familiar with the combinations you're going to throw. Get a pair of these, a pair of focus mitts or a set of Thai pads. You know, the bigger ones that you can kick. And get somebody who really knows how to hold them for you. Somebody who knows how to set up those combinations for you. I mean, you don't have to do anything really super complex. I mean, just 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, that sort of thing. Just practice it until it becomes second nature to you. And focus mitts are a great way to do that. If you don't have somebody to hold focus mitts or Thai pads for you, a great substitute to practice your combinations on is a heavy bag. Or if you don't have a heavy bag, shadow box in the air, you know? That kind of thing. So, if you're not familiar with those numbers I was calling out before, 1 means jab, 2 means cross, 3 means hook, 4 means uppercut. Okay, and just play with those numbers. Come up with various combinations. 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. And just play with that. Come up with some combinations. Get familiar with them until you can develop adequate or very good speed. Something that you're satisfied with. I mean, I have drilled combinations like 1, 2, 3, 4 so much they're just second nature to me. 1, 2, 3, 3 so much they just pop out like that. And that's one thing you can do to help. There are basically two types of muscle fibers in the body. There are slow twitch, you know, the kind you use to generally move, and fast twitch, which are the type you use for rapid, violent, sprinting, punching, kicking type of movement. You know, the type of stuff you do in martial arts. Now, those muscle fibers, you can increase them, you can condition them to an extent. And the best way to increase your striking speed is to practice striking fast. In fact, I would say the best way to condition yourself for a martial art or any sport is to make your practice, make your conditioning as close and as applicable to the sport as possible. As far as boxing, kickboxing, MMA goes, if you want fast hands, practice fast hands. Getting back to the concept of speed being an illusion, let me talk about a friend of mine. He's actually my cornerman. He's a great guy. He's a much better fighter than me. He could beat the pants off of me any day. But in his first MMA fight, he got knocked out in 3 seconds. He was a wrestler, pretty good wrestler at that. And what he did, he shot into the guy, move set up, took a knee straight to the face, landed cold on the mat. Now, since then he's learned a few things and he's taught me a few things. One of those is set up everything. Set up your shots so your opponent doesn't see them. I mean, trying for a double leg takedown, I mean, it's a good technique, but you can see it coming from a mile away unless you're sneaky. And one of the best ways to set up a double leg takedown is the same best way to set up anything else in martial arts, which is with a jab. Or with a simple combo, like 1, 2, back up, shoot. It doesn't make my shot any faster, but what it does is it distracts my opponent so he doesn't see it. One of my favorite fights, fighter by the name of Oliver Bradstreet, look him up on fcfighter.brinkster.net. Great record. He had the most weird but ingenious setup or fake I've ever seen in a fight. Basically what he did, they were in the middle fighting, he pointed off to the side like, oh look over there, and then shot in, and it worked beautifully. That's just one example of a fake, probably the most extreme I've ever witnessed. I generally recommend the jab, but if you can distract your opponent, sometimes you'll see Genki Sudo when he fights, he'll wave his arm over here like, yeah, watch this hand, and then he does something completely different. And that's why he's a great fighter, because he understands the setup, he understands a fake. He understands that it's not about how fast you are, it's not about how strong you are, it's not about how much power you put into your kicks, it's about how well you set up your moves. Now, I'm not saying don't develop speed, do develop speed. And the best way to do that, like I said, is just practice moving quickly. That's what works. Besides just doing the moves, like the kicks and the punches and the shots quickly, in order to develop those fast twitch muscle fibers, another thing you can do are exercises specific to using those types of muscles. Now, say your sport is Taekwondo and you're a Taekwondo fighter, you'll want to develop the fast twitch muscle fibers in your hip flexors as much as you can. Here's one good way to do that. This requires 2 kinds of motion. As my leg moves forward, my upper body moves in the opposite direction, like so. And when you develop that enough, you can develop butterfly kicks. Here's a drill for speed I learned from a Wing Chun practitioner, which is basically piston punches. Pivot your body from side to side, putting your hip and your feet and your body into it. Remember, tighten the fist at the moment of impact. Don't overextend the arms, and gradually increase your speed. And try that over and over again. Try holding it for 30 seconds or whatever. The muscles actually only have enough adenosine triphosphate in them for about 10 seconds of movement. But when you practice that kind of movement, it develops and increases your metabolism and allows the muscles to replenish themselves faster. So here we go. Pivot.